Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of the Habibis, three game developers drinking good Arab tea. I'm your host for this week, Osama Dorius.
I'm Rami Ismail.
وانا فوزي مسمار.
Okay, so I guess I'll start it off this week. I've
Jump the gun, Osama. So make sure you get enough time.
Before Rami starts talking.
Yeah, because the Rami had a flight, so he had a lot of time on his hands. He must have done a lot of stuff.
Oh boy.
So I started watching two TV shows, and I started playing a game. I didn't finish much, but I started a lot. So I'll start with the TV shows because they're both arguably in the same continuity. I started watching Loki.
I was about to guess that.
Yes, and MODOK. So I don't know if you've heard about MODOK, so maybe I'll start with that one first because everyone was waiting for Loki, or so I
Maybe
assume.
like the static silence that you got after the second one maybe gave you some hints. Loki,
MODOK.
What?
I mean, I know of MODOK, but I
Yes.
didn't know there was a TV show.
Yeah.
Well, yes, there's a TV show. It is a joint work from the people who make Robot Chicken and the Marvel Studios. So, which is already very interesting. If you don't know about Robot Chicken, it's like, stop motion type, claymation type TV show. I don't even know if they do it with CG or actual claymation anymore, but that's what it looks like. That's the aesthetic. And MODOK is a weird character in the Marvel universe. He's a giant head that's like floating around, and he's supposed to be a super genius, and he is a super genius in a lot of ways, in the ways he invents things, but as is typical of villains, completely incompetent. Like everything he invents doesn't work out. And
Isn't it an abbreviation like
machine
machine organism
for killing, something like that.
designed only for killing?
Yes,
That was
it.
Yes.
That's it. Yes,
That's great.
To be fair, MODOK would have sounded worse. So.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
There's a nice ring to it.
Yes. So MODOK is but just on an aside, he was also the antagonist in the Avengers game that came out last year, the year before, from Square Enix. It was last year, I think. Yeah, so he was also the antagonist in that game. So he has a presence in the Marvel universe. The TV show is what you would expect out of something made from people who made Robot Chicken. Tonally, it's identical. So it's like that kind of level of jokes, like, beeped out swear words and like raunchy at times, that kind of thing. So if you like, in my opinion, whether you like Marvel or not, if you enjoy the humor of Robot Chicken, you will like it. It's more of the same. It's like it's a long skit,
Right.
where
But
it
what if
focuses on Marvel. Yeah.
What if you don't know Robot Chicken?
Then watch Robot Chicken to find out if you know Robot Chicken.
It's not even then watch MODOK and find out. It's like, no, don't watch MODOK. Watch Robot Chicken first.
Robot Chicken is where it's at.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Robot Chicken, if you don't know whether you're gonna like it or not, and you watch it and you find out you're gonna like it, you're in good for a good time because they have seasons and seasons of content that you could catch up on.
For Robot Chicken.
Exactly, for Robot Chicken. Yeah, MODOK I think is on episode 3 or 4. They're just
Does the Robot Chicken also go on a killing spree?
well,
Robot Chicken designed only for killing? Because I'd watch that.
I'm pretty sure there were skits in Robot Chicken where the chicken kills people. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember it, but yeah, I
It
wouldn't.
just
be
reminds me
surprised.
of all those weird horror movies that came out for a while where they made the weirdest things kill people.
Yes,
Remember
like
there was
leprechauns.
Leprechauns, but there was also the one where an elevator goes and kills
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And then there's the one where a car tire goes and
Yes.
kills people, which is by far my favorite.
I remember that
Oh,
one.
if you haven't seen that thing, you should watch that.
I have
thing.
not
It's
seen that
ridiculous.
thing. It
is
sounds
so
so funny.
It's what was it called? Rubber.
Yes.
It was Rubber
Really?
by
Oh my God.
Quentin Dupieux. It's called Rubber, and it's just a car tire that like rolls around and kills people.
Is it like
He's
a
not even-
self-aware movie? It has to be, right?
Yeah,
it plays it mostly straight, which is why it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It is self-aware. I mean,
It is self-aware,
yeah.
but it's self-aware in that way where it knows that it's self-aware, but it also knows that if it makes it too obvious that it's self-aware, it stops working.
Exactly.
So it's like self-aware straight, like it's straight plate self-awareness.
If it's
Yes.
doing it for 2 hours, I'm not sure, like, how much that joke has legs.
It's pretty funny. It's like, a horror movie is good when the review scores sit around a 5 or 6,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
This one, I think it's like a 5.5.
So it's
So
perfect.
All right.
So yeah, so that, like, back to Modoc. If you like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or like the Marvel comic books, there's enough. There are enough nods there, like enough characters make cameos and things like that to keep you going. But if you don't like the humor in Robot Chicken, just skip it. It's just exactly that. It's just like Robot Chicken, but only Marvel sketches revolved around the most ridiculous Marvel character, arguably, because Howard the Duck is probably the most ridiculous. And that's it. So I'm enjoying it. Like, it's my cup of tea. I'm a huge Marvel nerd, both of the cinematic universe and comics. I'm a somewhat like Robot Chicken fan, not huge, but like enough to be okay with that type of humor. So for me, it's a good fit. Now, Loki is absolutely not that. It's extremely different. Loki is focuses on the character Loki from the Marvel universe, specifically the version that was created during the events of Marvel Endgame. So
right.
if you don't know what I mean, that's fine, because that probably means you're going to be starting off fresh, and I'm not going to explain it to you because you have a lot of really cool things that are going to be explained in the show itself. So you could actually just start watching that show if you know nothing about that. It'll explain it to you. But that's the Loki that we're talking about. He's the villain Loki, the evil Loki, not the Loki that kind of redeemed himself later on in the MCU.
Mhm.
And the first episode is really strong. And Rami, I know you watch it too, so jump in at any point.
Right. Yeah, no, I loved it.
Me too.
I thought it was really clever. The thing that was, obviously, it was sort of held back by the fact that it needs to both introduce the concept of this series and
Yes.
introduce Loki to people who don't know who Loki is,
Yeah.
and introduce the idea of like time travel and all that.
And alternate
Um,
dimensions and things like that. Like
right. So
at some point, you're literally watching like the equivalent of a PowerPoint, a presentation of what's happening within the show. But it works. It
Um,
works.
it's very strongly done. I mean, Tom Hiddleston as an actor just has incredible range, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
he has that sort of like laissez-faire charisma to him.
Yeah. Did you know he almost got the role of Thor?
Yeah, I thought that was the funniest
What?
thing.
I know. Yes, he
he was
auditioned for
cast.
Thor.
He was auditioning for Thor, and
Yeah.
then they went like, "This is more of a Loki."
Yeah.
And they just
It's so
But they
hard to
loved him.
imagine him as Thor,
I
especially
know.
after like Chris Hemsworth. It's impossible for me.
the audition video is on the internet,
Yeah.
so if you
Oh,
want,
okay.
you can find it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Cool.
but yeah, no, Loki did an incredible job of just the aesthetic is gorgeous.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they have the sort of tertiary challenge of bringing Loki back from a villain to an anti-hero,
Yep.
Mhm.
and they did such a good job for that.
Yeah, they set it up well. Like this first episode as a setup episode was excellent. Like I could see so many different directions that the story can go, and it's all exciting. I really just want to. I can't wait for the next episode. So,
Yeah.
and that was their
Yeah.
job, right?
Gorgeous.
And Owen
Gorgeous.
Wilson
Oh,
was
so good.
good.
There's Owen Wilson in this?
Oh,
Yeah.
is that a spoiler? No, that's fine.
No. He was
It's
in the
Owen
marketing
Wilson.
materials.
Yeah.
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 No,
I've been in complete media lockdown about this. I haven't seen anything about it.
Right.
All like I've seen the billboards around town saying that it's coming up. Other than that, I wouldn't have known that it's that it's even coming out.
Yeah, so Owen Wilson is in it, and he plays to his strength as as an actor, which is he is sort of he came from like the sort of bad comedy vibes for a
Yeah.
long time,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but he's just sort of like an unnoticeable presence,
Yeah.
and he plays that very well. He plays to his strength as like a desk clerk that is like high up in the organization, but really is just doing his job.
Yeah. Nonchalant about everything.
Yeah, nonchalant,
Yeah.
but like really good at what he does. He just doesn't show it.
Yeah.
He's like his entire job this first episode is to sort of like bring us into this universe and deconstruct Loki to such a point that he can have the catharsis he has through all of the MCU so far.
Wow.
And he has to do it in like 7 minutes of dialogue, and
Exactly.
he nails it.
Wow.
It's so
Super
well
cool.
done. Yeah. So if you're at all an MCU fan, I mean, most of you probably already watched the first episode.
Right.
If you're already an MCU fan, but
I
if you're
mean, by
not,
the
if you're
time
on the
this is
fence,
out, the second episode is out. So
exactly, exactly. But for anyone else who was on the fence, I feel like it's going to stand on its own legs. I feel like it's going to
right.
be a fun thing on its own. At
If
least,
you just want to watch something really pretty, it's
yeah,
really pretty.
it's really pretty. Exactly. Okay, so my last thing that I also started and not finished, and this one I don't really have much of an excuse because it was really short. The excuse was, busy week, but I'm loving it and I will finish it. I started playing the video game Backbone. Have y'all heard of it?
Backbone.
So I know you've heard of it, Fauzi, because you mentioned it on Twitter. You just forgot the name. It's that
Ah, yes, no, I
raccoon.
remember it.
Yes,
Yes, it's the raccoon. That game is out already. Wait, let me
yeah.
buy it.
Yeah, it's out and it's great. I played about halfway, so I looked up how long it would take to finish it. It's about 5 hours. I played it for about 2.5 3 hours, so I played it about halfway. So for those who don't know about it, it's kind of like an a narrative heavy point and click adventure game without the point and click part. It's just like an adventure game, film noir in a universe that's with anthropomorphic animals. You play a raccoon detective, um, and the pixel art, like the art style, the pixel art is gorgeous. It's
It's so
absolutely
phenomenal. Like in the pictures and the gifs that they have online, looks so beautiful, man.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And the writing is great. Like so far, I'm absolutely loving the writing. The style is great. There's a really cool mystery in it that unravels slowly. And every time I don't I can't speak for the second half of the game yet, but every time I think I figured out what it was, there was something else that made me question it. And like it's that kind of thing. Like it really plays like a really good mystery where it's not like, oh, I know what it is at the beginning now, let's just get to the bottom of it. No, it's like the entire time there's discovery, at least for the first half of the game. I'm absolutely loving it so far. The writing is great, the setup is great, the style is incredible. Like everything feels like it's cut from the same cloth. The
Hmm.
Hmm.
like the music, the art style itself, the choice of dialogue, the personality of everyone in it, the presentation, everything feels like it's just one cohesive whole. So I highly recommend it based on like the caveat that I haven't finished it yet. Just from the first half, it's worth it just for that.
Salma,
The
I have a
Yes,
question about that since you talk about the stories and all of this. How's the noir feeling of this game? I love me a
v-
good detective noir, like,
very
theme and
noir.
setting. Yeah, very.
Oh, it's excellent. Like you literally start off like the first seconds of the game. You're in your office and you get the lady who walks in and asks you to tail her husband. Like
Right.
that's
That's
very
cool.
typical like first scene of 90% of noir movies. That's how you start. And then when you do
Mhm.
like it unravels differently and you're like, okay, that's just not what I expected out of this. So it's really, really good. Have either of you read the bande dessinée Black Sad, like the BD, the European comic?
No.
Okay, so Black Sad is a a comic book, like a European comic. I struggle with what to call it, like a graphic novel, I guess, from Europe, French
Mhm.
BD, where you play as a Black Panther detective in a similar anthropomorphic world where everyone is an animal.
Uh-huh.
And it's actually, if you want to look it up, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeously drawn by one of the of an ex Disney animators. So it's the art style is just absolutely gorgeous. It has similar themes. It has similar presentation, similar style to Backbone, and all that is good. Like I'm not saying that like, oh, it's derivative or anything. No, I'm like, it took all the best elements of Black Sad and it approached like this is maybe a theme, a thematic spoiler, a little bit of a thematic spoiler, but not too much. It approached the same like topic as Black Sad because Black Sad, one of the main themes of it was to discuss racism because
Mhm.
the Black Panther is black and some of the like obviously and some of the other animals in the game are like Arctic. like they're white, like Arctic fox or polar bear or that kind of thing. The game Backbone deals with racism as well, but not in the same way. It's not actually the color of the animals that makes it a difference. They actually have a hierarchy based on species. Like
Right.
in Black Sad, a white polar bear will think themselves superior than a black bear, but
Mhm.
in Backbone, it's like apes are on top, and
Right.
like
I I
yeah,
genuinely thought it was pretty well done in Backbone.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
yeah, it felt uncomfortable in the same way I feel going through TSA.
yeah.
Like it felt very genuine.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not quite sure what experiences the team have. Like I don't know Eggnog, right? Eggnog Games.
Yes.
I don't know the team very well.
Composition. Yeah.
Um, they're spread out. I know they're spread around the world. I know some of them are in the Netherlands, but I think they're Russian mostly.
Mm.
This is their
Um,
first game, right?
I
Is it?
think as a team it
Maybe.
might be.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I genuinely like the. I mean, as you said, it's gorgeous. I just mostly thought that the racism, because I'm really tired of racism allegories in animal land, right?
Mhm.
Like it's like the Dragon Age. Ooh, elves are people of color, and it's like, oh, for God's sake, like, can we
Yeah.
just say racism?
Yeah.
Um, but normally, it's also sort of done at such a surface level that it doesn't. Every conversation is the same except for you have like a -2 charm bone, -2 charm debuff, or some vendors won't talk to you or something.
Yeah.
Here, it really felt like I was getting screwed over
Yeah.
frequently, right? Like it's like walking by people trying to get into a place like that's where these kind of like aggressions happen,
Exactly.
and that's where they happen in Backbone too. I was quite impressed.
I was as well. Honestly, the same comment. I liked actually the dialogue options that your character has in relation to the racism. Like basically, as a character, you have the choice to be just like, okay, okay, brush it by. This is just something I'm used to, or to be like, what the hell, you can't call me
Right.
that, but in a subtle way. And I love that. I love that. It really understands, or I felt, it really understands how it is to live in that kind of society.
Hmm.
Yeah.
From what I've like so quickly about it on Metacritic online, it seems that a lot of people are saying what you're saying about like how the world is very interesting and whatnot, and like the story and the premise of the game is super
Hmm.
fascinating. But seems like some are unhappy by how it twists near the end. So I'll be
Oh, I
very
didn't get there.
curious
I
to
Yeah,
hear your
I
perspective, Osama, once you get there as well.
Yeah. Did you get there,
I th-
Remy?
yeah, I think I would agree with that. I mean, the game kind of gets stuck in having so many twists and like big moments that I think there's just a bit of poor expectation management for what the game is. But if you can step over that, the game is really good for what it is, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah, it's added to my cart and everything already. Like I knew it was coming out later this summer, but like it's been a hell of a summer for me, so I've
it's
lost
been a,
track
it's
of
been
a
a few
lot of
weeks,
stuff.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear about that. Shall I go through what I did
yeah,
first,
go
Yeah.
for
and
it.
then
Yeah,
Absolutely.
go for it.
okay? So last time when we spoke, had I finished Mass Effect yet?
You
No.
were just about to finish the third one.
Okay, I
Exactly.
finished Mass Effect. It's good. The video game is good.
Uh,
That's it. Like
You've heard it
it's
here first, folk. Mass Effect
yeah.
is good.
It's good.
And I will add the DLCs are phenomenal, but also just Mass Effect was good already. And what
Mhm,
I like about it is that it holds up, right?
mhm,
Like the game holds up almost exactly as it was. And I have to say, now that I'm much older and I've been in game development for a while, right? The ending is good. I don't know what people are complaining. Like, yeah, okay,
Mhm.
I know what people are complaining about, but the ending is good.
Is
Like,
this the new ending? Or it's the new
it's the
ending.
same. I mean, it's the extended cut of the
It's
ending,
the
right?
extended cut. Okay.
But the structure of the ending is probably as good as they could have done with that game. Like, I can't imagine like how else are you going to wrap that up? And people have these big thoughts of how it should end because they think, well, Dragon Age gets it right every time with the ending, but Dragon Age never had to wrap up Dragon Age,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a similar game to this that had to wrap up.
And Dragon Age is not
Period.
three games that are connected and carrying your
No.
decision game over game.
with the same character, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
there's continuity in Dragon Age, but like
Not in the
they
same
had
way.
created such a web of possibilities that really the only way to finish this was to create very clear delineated endings and then allow variation in that.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, like it's the like it's a little samey in some regards, but it's really well done either way.
At some
I
point, the brand will have to collapse. It's just how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah, and I like that what they did is not that they made the branches collapse; they
Yeah.
just made them irrelevant to the
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
Right? That's the impressive thing is they went with the brave option of does everything really matter when the choice ahead of you is this big? I thought that was really impressive. The Citadel DLC was the final DLC of the game. Really is phenomenal. You get to have a little party with your crew.
Hmm.
Um, I cried my eyes out
Hmm.
mostly. It was really really lovely. And that wrapped up Mass Effect. Then I later realized there's trophies per individual game, and
Mhm.
that I'm pretty close to platinuming each of them, but
Wow.
I
Just
don't want
like
to go back into the game.
okay, but like just
So
from your regular playthrough, you were close to
right,
plat. Oh
yeah, I
wow,
was
I'm
pretty
far
close.
from
Yeah.
it in my playthrough of the
So
first
there
Mass
there
Effect.
is the Mass Effect. So this is interesting for you as game developers, I think. But there is the main set of trophies
Yeah.
for the game,
Hmm.
but then there is an individual set for each of the sub games attached to the same title, and each of the sets has a platinum trophy,
Hmm.
which I've never seen
I've
before. I
never
didn't
seen
even know
that either.
that was possible. But they have 4 trophy sets in one game, and each of the trophy sets
Yeah.
has a platinum trophy.
I did notice
Hmm.
that there are some achievements that could be unlocked in any of the games, like
Right.
which is was
So
already something I had never seen before. I think one of them was follow through with a romance option. I did that; it popped up,
right.
it says in Mass Effect 1, 2, or 3. So
Right. So yeah, there's the main set, which is for the entire product, and then there's the individual sets, which are for subsections within the product.
yeah,
Anyway, this is getting too technical. I'd never seen it before. If you're playing it and you're a trophy hunter, make sure to check in your trophy list because there will be 4 games added to your trophy list for just playing this title. And there's 4 platinums to be had, although the main set is just too hard for me.
hmm.
Mhm.
Um, then after that, I had nothing to do with my life. I watched Loki, like Osama,
Yeah.
and then I just was sad for a few
Oh,
days until I realized I just needed a new narratively strong game where a small group of people like fights for the fate of the universe. So I downloaded Earth Defense Force
Oh,
World
nice.
Brothers,
hmm.
which is the voxel-based Earth Defense Force. So there's 2 possible responses to. Well, there's 3 possible responses to this game. The first one is you love EDF and you don't love this, which is fine. The second one is you don't really know about EDF, but you're just really offended by all the stereotypes in it. And the third one is lol. And that's kind of the 3 possible reactions to it. I fall in the third one.
Okay.
I really thought I was going to hate the stereotypes in it. But I found a Dutch tulip girl in the first like minutes, and her special power is that she can throw tulip grenades, and her ultimate is throwing a windmill. And then I did a level on the pyramids where I fought Godzilla, and there was a moment where I was really worried because with stereotypes, it's usually the stereotypes are about the other people,
Yeah.
and sort of like the creators or the strongest cultures don't get stereotypes, right? They
Yeah.
get characters.
Yeah.
But then I met the American character, and he's a cowboy that doesn't understand anything about the world. Um,
Okay.
and the Japanese character is a ninja.
Oh.
So they just went
Okay,
all out on everybody.
they basically did a Street Fighter on
Yeah.
this
Right.
character.
So everything is super stereotypical. It's silly. It's ridiculous. It's extremely self-aware about EDF and about video games.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
There's a mission early on where you're fighting Godzilla, where suddenly the tactical officer that's like keeping you updated of mission progress calls in to say like, "Oh, I see what's happening. This is one of those let's show how strong the boss is fights. I don't think you can actually beat it. Just keep hitting it until it runs away." And that's like actual dialogue in the game, right? So it's playing it that way. If you enjoy that kind of stuff, it's fun. It's kind of like EDF. It's not quite EDF because EDF isn't that self-aware.
I was
Mhm.
about to ask
Um,
Rami if I've never played an EDF game before, would I like this one?
so here's the thing: if you've never played an EDF game before, stop everything you're doing, download Earth Defense Force 5,
5 is the
and
best
play that.
one.
5
Okay.
is the best one. Um,
Those games are criminally underrated in my eyes. They're like
they
they're
really
so
are.
much fun, but like doesn't seem like that many people know of them.
It's weird. Like the people that know them can sing the songs, and the people that don't know them don't understand why anybody would play it.
So I've
Um,
never played one. So
play EDF 5, and you know
yeah.
what? If you're going to play EDF 5, let's play it together
Okay. I'm gonna
because you
add
can
it to my
split screen it.
absolutely.
And then after that, I also booted up Ratchet and Clank,
Ooh.
Oh, the new one.
and yeah, Rift Apart.
Mhm.
Whew,
It's good.
wow, it is. I mean, it's Ratchet and Clank,
It's
right?
Insomniac, man.
It's Insomniac. It's super high quality. Um, but you know what? You know the thing that really got me about Ratchet and Clank is, there's something to be said for when there is a next gen thing. There needs to be the tech showcase, right? The game
Mhm.
that shows what the new potential is of the hardware. And I've always believed that for this next gen, a large part of it is going to be in the architecture of level design,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? Because we don't have to worry about streaming as much anymore. We don't have to worry about like loading stuff anymore. Like, sure, there's still problems. There's still things to think about, but generally we can do things a lot smoother.
Mhm.
Um, and Ratchet and Clank just goes and goes like architecture, lol. We don't need that. We don't need architecture. Here's just a thing you can go in, and now you're somewhere else. Um, the level of graphical fidelity is honestly absurd. Like every screenshot you can make of this game is a next gen showcase, right?
Wow.
Um,
It's high praise.
yeah, the particle effects are ridiculous. The movement is smooth. There's like different different performance modes. So you've got like the 30 FPS locked one that's just full performance, ray tracing, everything. They've got a 60 FPS one without ray tracing, and then you've got a lower resolution 60 FPS one with ray tracing.
Mhm.
I'm playing it on that one. It is phenomenal. It is staggeringly beautiful. It is Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
It's not. They're not doing particularly much gameplay wise with the mechanic. It's mostly a visual like gimmick, but when they use it, it's really fun. And in terms of like the roller coaster ride that it gives you, it's great. So having a great time with that one. Besides that, I mean there's honestly not been much time for me to play things either. I think this is gonna tie in a little bit to what Fauzi has to say, because if you've been busy, I'm gonna guess part of it is E3, right?
Oh man, E3, preparing for E3 and all of that. So I've been busy with the two things. I've moved apartments, as we
Nice.
were talking about last week. So I'm now in my new place, all settled. But yeah, it
Good.
was like it was a couple of days of me being in boxes, all kinds of boxes, and obviously I found a box that I've been moving around. I think I moved this box 4 countries. It has every
Wow.
USB cable known to man.
Nice.
And it's like, I think that there's like hundreds of USB cables in that
Including
thing.
the really weird square one with the little USB micro on top of it.
What?
No, it's a giant one because like every device I buy comes with a USB cable. And I'm like, I think I
Right.
have all the ones I want connected, but I can't throw away a USB cable because that
Yeah.
might come in handy at some point.
Right.
And
I'm
I
the
have a
same.
box of those things, hundreds of them.
Yeah.
That might be too much.
The thing is, like, I should have grabbed that box and as is threw away. But then I was
Right.
like, as I was packing stuff, like I'll put it under the bed. Maybe one day I'll need it.
If I ever need a USB cable, I know who I'm calling.
I'll send you a dozen.
Nice.
But yeah, it was also like good to. I did a bit of a purge every time I moved. I just throw away a whole bunch of stuff I didn't use. I found that I have a set of pots and pans that I haven't used in maybe 5 years.
Wow.
These are all the sizes I never use. So like all of those went to donations.
I know
Nice.
exactly what you're talking about because we're moving in 2 months and we started the packing and throwing away process. And oh my God, do we ever have things we just never touch? We've been in our current place for 11 years and we
Wow.
found boxes that we haven't opened since our last move.
Yeah.
What the hell? Like, anyway, it's
Yeah,
a
the
process.
purge is real, man. Like,
Yeah.
Every time, like this time, I made a pact to myself, other than the USB box. I made a pact to myself, like if I grab something and I look at it and go like, maybe I could use it one day, I'm just gonna throw it away because
Yeah.
Right.
if I'm gonna need it one day, I'll just buy a new one, whatever
Yeah.
that
Right.
thing was.
Right.
Uh,
There's very few things that are too like very few things that you hoard that are actually expensive to replace.
Seriously,
I found like the weird thing is like all the expensive stuff that those are big choices. So I feel like you make those choices,
yeah,
right? When you're like, okay, do I keep this TV? Do I donate it? Do I like you make that decision then? But with like small stuff that's like $6 or something,
yeah,
you somehow don't make that choice and you just throw it in a box.
Yeah.
yeah,
I've never
exactly.
understood how my brain works that way, but that's exactly what happens to me. Is all the cheap stuff goes in boxes, and the expensive stuff gets handled.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
I
like
noticed
it
that.
really comes in handy, like this mentality of going like, oh, these pots that I've been moving around for some time. All right, time to get rid of them.
Right.
This pairs of shoes that I haven't worn in God knows how long. All right, time to get rid of that too. This T-shirt that I'm keeping for sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
It's a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I recently did the T-shirt purge.
Yeah,
Huh.
Yeah, I went through all my stuff because like 90% of my T-shirts I got at video game events,
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
and like it's nice to have them, but at the same time, at some point you got to move on from like a indie game from 2014.
I
I
had
thought
to
you were
make a
gonna
choice.
say. Yeah, I thought you were gonna say 90% of your T-shirt have the Vlambeer logo on it.
I mean, I have a lot of those as well, but usually those T-shirts like don't even make it home.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like
Just giving them
it's
away.
Yeah,
well, yeah. I mean, if I've worn them, I'm not giving them away
Ah,
again.
yes.
Yeah.
But like, I travel very lightly, so everything extra is a problem. Actually, this is my first Habibis not at home.
Oh yeah, that's right. You've
I'm
been traveling.
yeah, I'm in Montreal, and I set up the.
Yay.
I mean, do I sound good?
You sound great.
You sound great.
nice. I brought the microphone, so Um, it's nice. This was my first flight in a long time, so I kind of moved as well.
Ah, there you go.
I mean, it's only for a few weeks, but
that
it
was
works.
pretty cool. It's you back where you belong on an aircraft.
Yeah,
I was so happy.
I can imagine.
I must have had a smile on my face for the entire flight. And then when I landed, I wanted to play Flight Simulator, but
of course you did.
I don't have my control set up here, so I can't use it. And I was in a hotel.
Yeah,
I haven't been in a hotel since PAX East 2020.
how terrible is
Wow.
the TV?
It was so small. It was so, and my window looked at a wall. There was only a wall.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
like, this is perfect. I am back. I'm back.
You're
The
back.
thing about hotels is like, even though they're all different, they all feel the exact same,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
right? So for me, I've lived in the same place, sort of mentally, for 7 years of my life.
Yeah.
And then I stayed at home in the Netherlands for like a year and a half. And
Yeah.
now I'm back at like the travel home.
Back
And
where you belong.
It's really nice. It made me very happy. How does new home feel? Because we talked about home last week.
Yeah,
Like
man.
how does
I have fast internet, so that's all I need.
especially now.
Especially
Yeah.
now. Not like I got everything like sorted out. I got my stuff in place. I got my guitars and the little trinkets I spoke about, like hanging in where they should belong. So it's kind of
Mhm.
nice. It's kind of nice.
The
I'm feeling like settled in.
did you jump over the smoke thing a few times?
I haven't actually. I haven't found out in the boxes just
It's,
yet.
it's
After
important, man.
after our conversation, now I don't jump over it anymore.
Oh,
The tradition is gone.
I'm telling
We-
you
we-
that's a YouTube channel right there,
That's
right
it.
in the
I don't, I
making.
don't, don't want to piss off my new neighbors. Like, oh, the new neighbor is jumping over our heads for some reason. Hasn't moved
I
in
mean,
one
it
day
could
and
just be a
already
new
making sound.
tradition. Every day besides Friday, you post a picture of you jumping over the smoke thing, and then every Friday you post a Friday video.
I love it. That's
If we do a Habibis panel at some point, I'll get some
Yeah.
and we'll do some jumping on stage.
I mean, I don't want to be involved in any other panel that sets off the fire alarm, to be honest. 'Cause
Any
wait,
other panel.
any other? Wait, what?
this was like years ago. There was like a wrestling panel that they used to do.
Oh, yeah, is that the
Uh,
giant bomb stuff?
Yeah, I was
yeah.
on that when they decided it would be a good idea to have a smoke machine
Oh,
for the
no.
intros of people,
That's funny.
and it set off the fire alarm and evacuated the entire hotel.
Oh no.
So that was the thing.
Oh, that's
Uh,
hilarious.
so yeah, I think one of those is enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
fair
Generally.
enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, no, okay. We'll figure something out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to. But yeah, other than moving, it's been a big week ramping up towards E3. Like the game that I'm working on just got its reveal trailer.
Yeah,
Uh, Thank
congrats.
you. It's
Congratulations.
been
I can't wait to
very
play it with you.
yeah. Oh my god, you guys are gonna have
I'm
so
gonna
much
get
fun.
wrecked.
That's okay.
It's part of the game. We're all gonna get
Yeah,
wrecked. It's
exactly.
it's part of the game
We're
experience.
gonna have a
Okay,
Habibi
but-
squad.
Yeah.
But
Oh
let's
man,
be
that was
honest.
so
Okay,
much fun.
Yes.
So the game looks incredible. I love the announce. I was so amazed to see that level of community awareness that they
Yeah.
had around Zook
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man.
in the
Vander's-
trailer.
Yeah.
The most beautiful moment of the trailer. Like there was lots of amazing stuff. Like I'm not going to ask you for any comment, but I just wanted to like give my opinion.
Yeah, man.
God, game looks gorgeous, and it looks like y'all went all out on like, okay, what is ridiculous fun, right? Like, what
Yes.
can we do that makes the player like creates interesting situations, creates spectacle, creates like opportunities for tactical gameplay, creates change in the map. What a like, yeah, it feels like a Battlefield. But if Battlefield was put on like some device that makes it go 200%, you know, which I'm really excited for.
It was
and
yeah.
Fauzi, I will say, I was really happy. I
Did
saw
it-
Arabic.
There you
It
go.
was
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
It was correct. I looked for it. I looked for it.
You're not gonna make Rami's website.
Right. I'm just imagining Fauzi sitting there over the shoulder of the trailer. People just being like, no, zoom in there. Enhance. 600%, please. Okay, that's Eric. Tell us.
I can't confirm or deny that may or may not happen. But
Made
it's
me
like-
very happy.
you know, like you're talking about the Renderzook moment. One of the funniest things, like I had a friend of mine, like, you know, as the trailer came out, was like, I loved everything about the trailer, but Fauzi, come on, like a dude jumping out of a jet, shooting another jet, and landing in the jet was a bit too much because he doesn't know what the Renderzook is. I was like,
Right.
I was like, dude, I'm just gonna link you to this video, which is like a
Right.
collection of reaction videos of like just maybe like 50 people losing it at that one
Yes.
scene.
Right. Incredible. But I mean, it's such a classic moment in Battlefield history. Like,
Yeah.
you know, eject from the airplane, grab your rocket launcher, shoot the airplane behind you with the rocket launcher, and then just land back in the airplane.
Yeah.
That is Battlefield 90%. Like that's if you ask people what is Battlefield, they'll link you that video like 70% of the time.
Yeah, it's in the
Um,
dictionary. That's what it is.
The other thing I loved about that whole thing was somebody made an edit where it fails.
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
I actually retweeted that and said, "This
I
is
didn't
me
see
when
it.
I try to pull it off."
It's like the character lands on the side of the airplane and just sort of like bounces off and falls. Beautiful.
Yeah, so
No,
Thanks a lot.
congrats.
Congratulations.
The reception seemed really, really good.
Yeah.
thanks a
I
lot.
was
We,
super
we
stoked.
were super happy. Like the reaction from the community, like really had me and I know a lot of people from the team almost in tears.
Yeah.
We were like, you know, very excited too. And actually, this is like, you know, still going on. So like, as we're recording this podcast, we actually have to have an alarm on because at
Right.
some point I need to bounce. We have the gameplay reveal on the Xbox stage. So,
Right.
so like,
Soon.
this is still gonna happen. Like this roller coaster of a week is still going on. And like, I hope like, you know, the reaction for this, hopefully by this time this comes out, we would have known.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the reaction of the gameplay also matches the reveal trailer. We are very confident that, you know, people
Yeah,
are
I
gonna
don't
love
doubt
it.
it. I don't doubt it.
But yeah,
I'm excited.
there's always that moment, like you know, when you have something good, but there's always that moment when
Scary.
it's going out to the world. You go like, oh my god, and it's like it's really what the spirit of E3 is all about. Sometimes, you know,
Right.
it's like
Absolutely.
we're pushing this thing in front of millions of players for the first time. We know it's good. We've been working hard on it, but like let's hope you know millions of people think the same.
Right. You never know how the coin is going to drop. Right. Like
Yeah.
you have like you can do all the work, but then it's that thing where sometimes you have a thing and everything is good about it, but one thing is a little off, and
Yeah.
that becomes the conversation, and you
That's what
never know how the
everyone
conversation is going to go.
Yeah.
exactly. Everyone ends up fixating on that one thing, and
Right,
sometimes you could compare to another game that had a similar thing, but for some reason the zeitgeist didn't decide to focus on it.
right.
Yeah.
But
It's unpredictable.
it's like people getting worried about, like, normal E3s. There's a lot of like life stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like live gameplay, people on a stage with a controller.
yeah,
I remember when Uncharted had like a bug, and that became the conversation around Uncharted, and it's like, oh, that's not the conversation you would hope for.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but there's not much you can do, and I mean, learning about that, industry wise, how that goes behind the scenes with like backup devices and like
Yep,
backup videos to the backup devices and like
yep.
extra controllers sitting around and like,
Yeah. But
um,
I remember like one of my first E3s, that must have been 2006 or 2007. And we had a box of demos from our game that was supposed to come out on the 360 at the time. And we had like a box of demos that we were going to hand out to publishers, all of this and stuff that we were supposed to show. And then that box gets lost.
Oh no!
United Airlines.
Oh no!
ooh,
uh,
Oh no!
but luckily we arrived 3 days before the show, and we were, like panicking, man. And then we called the guys back home at the studio in Jordan, and we go like, you guys need to need to send us. So like we got the guys like burning DVDs back home nonstop, putting them in
Wow!
the box and FedExing it over to us. And like in
Amazing!
true game dev, we were like, oh, that means we have 3 extra days. So I'm like, up until midnight trying to fix more bugs. since, since I have 3 extra days before they get them burnt in the DVD, I can fix some more stuff before they send that over to us. So and then like the disc like literally arrives an hour or two before we get to give it away or show them, and I'm
yeah.
running around carrying boxes of discs and putting them away.
I've done show floor bug fixes
Yeah,
Oh
at
yeah.
E3 with my laptop in my backpack, and I'm just sitting next to the device and just uploading builds. It's like,
okay.
what am I doing with my
So
life?
this is one of my earliest Rami Ismail memories. It's not
Oh
exactly
god.
at E3. It's at a demo night in Montreal, and basically we would have a whole bunch of developers show off their games for 5 minutes. And Rami was a guest. He came, he spoke for about 5 minutes, and sat down. He wasn't showing a game or anything. And a developer went on stage, and their game wasn't working. So Rami ran on the stage, debugged it for him, had this game run like everyone was like, "Wait, what's happening?" Like, do you remember
That's
that,
so funny.
Rami?
Yeah,
That's
I
such a
remember.
Rami thing. Rami once jumped on
It's such
stage
a
to
Rami
fix
thing.
my prompter during my talk. My
Right.
second screen wasn't working, and like the IT guy wasn't
Oh.
figured it out. It's like he's trying to figure out what to do, and then Rami jumps in like, "Oh yeah, I know this broke with me before," and then he's fixing it.
But
Rami the
that's the thing,
fixer.
right? Like, I've done so many of these things that I usually know what's going wrong. Whether it's like presenting a game, like I consult on like hundreds or maybe thousands of games. So like, when something goes wrong, I can usually go like, this seems like this thing, right? Um,
That's incredible.
yeah, it's a funny it's a funny thing to be known for, to be the guy that jumps on stage to
He's
fix
the
things.
Tox IT guy.
Uh,
It,
right.
it's a great
The
thing to be known for.
industry IT
Industry IT
brother.
guy. So
Um,
Rami, I have this problem with my mic. Yeah,
right. You should
just
put
put
a
a
pillow
pillow
behind
behind
it.
it.
Even that.
Yeah,
No, I don't know. E3 is a strange thing because I don't necessarily love E3. I love the spectacle of it, and I love the conversation around it.
yeah,
That, for me, that's E3.
yeah.
But I have a lot of good memories of
Yeah.
that show.
I
Like,
I love the
I
emotions
Mhm.
around E3 the
Mhm.
most. Like
right,
the most memorable thing from E3. When I think E3, the thing that I remember the most is seeing the developer on that Ubisoft Nintendo joint game, the Mario Raving
David.
Rabbids, like the first
Yeah.
time.
right.
Yes, when he started crying when he saw like Miyamoto
So good.
on the stage, like oh that like I cried
Yeah,
with him.
same,
I won't even
same.
lie.
Right.
Such a good
It
moment.
was beautiful.
I think the entire games
Yeah.
industry did.
Yeah.
Like everybody who works in games is like, oh, I can imagine why this man is
Yeah.
emotional.
Yes, exactly.
Man,
Um,
what a moment.
But yeah, it's a lot. Most of my E3 stories are just way sillier than this. Like all of you have such profound stories. I'm like, I accidentally walked backstage at an Xbox show once. Like I very early on in my career, nobody knew who I was, right? So I kind of got into this tradition of, well, if I want to be in places, I'm just gonna have to like walk my way in, right? So I just tried sneaking into stuff when I was just starting. People, please don't do this. The industry changed. Things are much tighter. Security is way stricter.
Yeah.
Rami is a
Um,
very short, small
but
man.
that-
Nobody notices him when he, he
well,
walks on.
I think it was the opposite. It's the fact that I was like a very tall, like nobody thinks I'm sneaking into something because it just doesn't fit with how I look, right?
It's like this big
So I
guy,
would just
very
walk into
confident.
things.
Sure, he belongs here.
Right. Right. And, the guard would go something like, "Where's your wristband?" I just raise my arm. I have my leather jacket on, so you can't see my wrist, and just tap my wrist like 3 times. And like, don't you see it? And then keep walking. There's like, well, I guess fair enough. But yeah, I've managed to sneak into quite a bunch of stuff. But one of my favorite was, you remember Sean Layden?
Yeah. PlayStation.
He was at
guy.
PlayStation for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first time he ever did a talk at E3, I had snuck backstage, and there were these 2 guys watching a monitor of Sean speaking, and when the talk was done, he came backstage, but he came. I decided to join those 2 guys because I'm less suspicious standing next to other people, right? I only have to convince those 2 people that I'm supposed to be there instead of somebody walking around being like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
Because if you're standing in a group of 3, nobody's going to pay
gonna
attention to
bother
it,
you.
right?
Exactly.
Like I've played Assassin's Creed, I know how this works. So I'm standing there watching Sean on these 2 monitors, and he comes backstage, but the door where he comes backstage is right next to the 3 of us, right? And he walks to the 3 of us, and he looks at them and he goes like, "How was that?" And the first guy goes, "Oh, that was very good. I think the messaging came across really well." And the second guy goes like, "Oh yeah, timing was great. Like we're, really well done." And then he looks at me and I go like, "You really got to stop doing that thing with your thumb." Where he's doing the media train like thumb interpunction. Like that's like, because I'm like, that's too media trained, right? Before Sean, it was Adam, and Adam Boyce was just on stage like making big gestures and here comes Sean, who genuinely great person, like had great ideas for PlayStation, a great idea for the brand, really really kind humanist, as far as I knew him or know him. I don't know what he's doing nowadays. But I just thought it was a little too media trained, so I did that. And he looks at me, he's like, "Who are you?" I'm Rami Ismail, I'm an indie developer. He's like, "Oh, are you in the showcase?" I'm like, "No, not quite." And he left with that, but I think I made quite a first impression there.
Unforgettable.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, it's funny because it's the kind of thing. Like I think I met people at the main companies at E3, at every main company in a weird way. I met Reggie from Nintendo when he kicked me off the Nintendo booth.
Oh. Wait.
Well, so it was early. It was at E3, and I was showcasing with Sony, right? So I was on the show floor early, but I needed to talk to Dan Edelman, who used to be the indie contact at Nintendo.
Yes.
And I went there. I went to the Nintendo booth to look for Dan, right? And I was searching around, and then I saw Reggie, and I thought, you know what? If anybody knows where Dan is, it'll be Reggie.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked up to Reggie, and I said, "Reggie," and he turns around. And he does that scan, when somebody scans you like top to toe
Yeah.
with his eyes,
Yeah.
and he just looks across me and then looks back up. And then he looks over my shoulder at a security guy and just like nods basically. And the security guy just puts a big hand on my shoulder and escorts me off the Nintendo booth. And I'm like, what the? I thought Reggie was nice. And then I get back to the PlayStation booth and I tell somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, no, you're wearing a PlayStation badge, mate. Like, you shouldn't be on the Nintendo booth before the show floor opens." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, that makes
Also,
sense."
if you think Rami is big, wait until you meet Reggie.
Right, Reggie is. But you know what? I will say, Reggie is big. Sean was like a big jovial man. Shu is like really lovely, but like he has that aura of like don't mess with me, right? But it's Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer's like half my size, but I am sure he will beat me up if I do anything wrong, right? And he's like the nicest man.
Guy.
Like
I don't think he beats anybody.
He's the nicest man. He's like super nice. He's like humble. He genuinely cares about what he's doing, and this is true for all of the people I've just mentioned. But Phil is so incredibly genuine. But he just looks like when if we were in school together, he would definitely have stolen my lunch money, right? Like he has that look to him. It's just really funny that he's like just the kindest human. Yeah, E3 is a lot of nonsense like that for me. Like running around, running into people, and then being stuck with them for like ending up in like weird weird dinners with all sorts of heroes from my childhood, and just be like, I don't know why I'm here, but okay. Showing games, like I don't know. E3 is just. I think it's the people that make.
I think
it
it's
fun,
one
right?
of the best
It's like
things about this industry is that it's so inclusive. Everybody is just happy that everybody else is there. We're all making games together. That kind of vibes. I really love it for that.
Right,
Absolutely.
And it does translate to the internet right now because you see the Wholesome Direct, you see all the shows that are happening, and we're still cheering for each other.
Yeah,
like everybody is still cheering for each other, right?
How do you feel about E3 switching from more of a this is for the industry to being more open to everyone else?
I mean, let's be honest. Like E3, like it's Jeff 3 at this point, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if E3 has realized it yet, but I feel E3 is kind of dead.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's true. I don't know whether it's going to stay that way. I don't know if they're going to catch back up in the next few years. But Summer Game Fest had what? They had Elden Ring.
Yeah.
They have Xbox and Bethesda under their banner. I think they have Square Enix under their banner as well. Like, what did E3 get? Nintendo? I think that's it. Like beyond that, like Jeff is doing that thing where it's not necessarily not E3 what he's doing. He's just kind of like blending it in. But if he decides to separate it by 2 weeks,
guys, the alarm is on.
Oh. Oh no!
The alarm is on.
You have to run on stage.
All right.
Speaking of E3 shenanigans, we gotta bounce.
Right. Well, are you nervous?
Yes.
You have no reason to be. I know it's gonna go great, Jeff.
Thank you so much, guys.
I'm excited to watch it in a little.
Yeah. And let me know what you guys think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do.
It's gameplay stuff. Imagine yourselves in a Habibis squad while you're watching that gameplay.
Sounds good because at least one of us will know what to do. While I'm just like running around being like, "Oh,
exactly."
That's
Now,
let me look at that."
Osama absolutely would know what to do.
Right. Osama would try to see if he can do like quarter circle forward punch.
Well, one
thing
day
I've learned about you too.
One day when we're not running out of time, I'll tell you about the time I got banned from a Battlefield.
Oh
server.
wow,
that's good. That's a good story that I'm going to share.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Some other time, Fauzi, we should let you go.
Absolutely. So
let's
so let's just wrap it up. That's it for this week. Make sure that all of you send us any messages or emails to info@thehabibis.com. We really want to hear from you. And our Discord conversations are great. Join our Discord. Poke us on Twitter. That's it for this week. Thank you, everybody, and salam.
Salam. Good luck, Fauzi.
Salam, guys.
That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I'm Osama Dorias, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter @Osama Dorias. My fellow Habibis were Rami Ismail, you can find on Twitter @THA_Rami, and Fauzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter @Fauzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. Intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubayla, and the logo was provided provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good era tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and Assalamu alaikum.